When yeast is handled properly, it gives the power to rise a perfectly tall and chewy bread, which is why it's the star of today's recipe, my deep dish and delish pizza. I'm Chef Heidi Fink, and that's what we're cooking on the coast. Welcome to the kitchen. Today it's pizza night and I'm super excited to show you my family's favorite pizza, deep dish and delish. Let's get started. So the first thing I want to show you how to do is make the sauce, because that has to simmer for a while, and then I'm going to show you how to make the dough. So the sauce has got a base of passata, which is, as you might know already, my favorite tomato product. It's pureed already, ready to go, but not too thick and pasty. So we're going to start by heating up some extra virgin olive oil in a pan. I've got about 2 or 3 tablespoons. I'm actually not heating the pan yet, sorry. We are going to put the olive oil in the pan, and we're going to put in 4 cloves of minced garlic. And then I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of oregano and half a teaspoon of chili flakes. Now you can leave out the chili flakes if you don't like it to have a hint of spice. I like just a little hint of spice in the pizza. I feel like it goes really well with, you know, the pizza toppings. So with the oregano, you always want to crush it between your hands to really release the flavors. Oh, smells so good. There we go, we're going to do that again. So 2 teaspoons of oregano. Oregano is kind of what makes pizza sauce. That's what gives it that distinctive pizza taste. You could use another herb if you like. I sometimes will put basil in there or rosemary. So if you don't want to use chili flakes, then you can use black pepper. The reason I like to heat this together is if you heat up the pan and you're only putting garlic in here, what's going to happen is the garlic is going to burn on contact. So I like to heat the garlic and oil together so that they slowly heat up together without burning the garlic. It releases the garlic flavors. Same thing with these herbs. So I've got this on like medium high heat. So we have to let this sizzle for like 30 to 45 seconds once it comes up to temperature. You want to be really careful not to burn the garlic because it can give it a really bitter flavor. Now, obviously for this pizza, you could use a store-bought pizza sauce if you want to, if you have one that you really like. But I always feel like if I'm going to be making my own dough, I really like to make my own sauce as well. You know, it's a big event. Okay, it's starting to sizzle now. And as it's sizzling, I can just smell it. I can smell that delicious garlic and oregano wafting off the pan. And then once we're happy with that, we are going to add our entire jar of passata. Now, if you cannot find passata, then for sure you can use any other tomato product that you like, pureed crushed tomatoes or diced tomatoes, whole peeled tomatoes. I prefer, though, pureed products. So if I use a diced tomato, for instance, I will always give it a blitz in the blender first, just because it's nicer on a pizza. This smells delicious. Now we're going to add our tomato. Look at that really nice texture on that tomato. It's perfectly pureed, but it's not thick and pasty. Okay, now I'm also going to add a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of sugar. So the sugar just helps counteract what can often be pretty acidic in jarred tomatoes. If you are happy with your tomatoes and you think they're not too acidic, then you can skip the sugar or reduce the sugar. So now we're just going to bring this up to a simmer. We're going to make sure everything is mixed together. And then we're just going to let that simmer for about 20 minutes. So that allows all the flavors to meld together. And it also allows the sauce to thicken a little bit because you don't want pizza sauce to be too runny. We're going to just let that do its thing. I'm going to turn that up a tiny bit. And now we're going to get started on our dough. So the secret to a really, really good pizza, specifically a deep dish pizza, is in the dough. You need to make a dough from scratch. It needs to be delicious. So that's what we're doing. We're going to start with some flour, all-purpose flour. Now you can use bread flour for this if you want to. I've definitely done that. It makes a chewier crust. But I find that a lot of people don't have bread flour in their homes, so I'm going to use all-purpose. It works out just as well. As a chef, I always bake with a scale. So you can use the scale measurement, which is 472 grams, or you can use cups, which is 3 1/3 cups of flour. And it's the same measurement whether you have bread flour or all-purpose flour. So this makes a really thick and chewy crust, kind of like a focaccia, but not as thick as a focaccia. One of the reasons that I always make deep dish pizza is I've got 2 teenage boys at home, and so if I make a thin crust pizza, They're gone, they're gone. They eat them. In order to fill them up, I need to give them a thick crust. Okay, now we need some instant yeast, okay? So this is important. Do not use active dry yeast for this. You want instant yeast. It has a better flavor and gives better strength to the dough. And you don't have to pre-mix it with water. So instant yeast, and then we need salt. So I did 3/4 of a teaspoon of instant yeast, and then we need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And then I'm gonna mix that together. And then I'm gonna add 1.5 cups of cold water, or 375 grams. So you'll notice, I don't know if you will notice, but I notice that this is a very high hydration recipe. That means there's a lot of liquid in it. It's almost 80% hydration. So that gives you a really chewy crust with lots of aeration. And because it's very high hydration, you actually don't need to knead this dough. All we have to do is mix it together until it forms a shaggy ball, and then we are just gonna put this in the fridge. So you can put it in the fridge overnight, or you can let it raise on the counter during the day. So you can, for instance, you can make this in the morning, and then you can just leave it covered on your counter, and then come home and you've got pizza dough ready, or you could do it the night before and put it in the fridge. So, you know, it's actually very, very easy to make. So look at this crazy, shaggy, barely mixed dough. This is gonna turn into the most delicious pizza crust. So we're just gonna cover that. Okay, remember we have to let this rise 8 to 12 hours at room temperature, or 12 to 24 hours in the fridge. I have one that I made last night. It's in the fridge. I'm gonna get it out. All right, look at that. So it should at least get triple in volume and be really light and jiggly like that. Can you see that? That's how you can tell it's just full of air bubbles and the gluten's developed. So we're gonna make a delicious pizza with this after the break, but first we're on the road.
Cooking on the Road is brought to you by Whisk Victoria, the small but mighty kitchen gadget store for every home chef.
I'm here at Alderlea Farm Cafe with Marley. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, right
I love
on.
your cafe.
Awesome.
So tell me a bit about the history. I know you said your parents started the farm.
Yeah, so my folks started the farm about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the cafe's been going for 14 years.
Yeah.
And 4 years ago, my wife and I took over the cafe, and
So now you're the main chef and bottle washer at the cafe?
Yeah, you better believe it. Yeah, we're there 3 days a week, and I'm there turning all the pizzas and making sure it all goes smooth.
Yeah, it's delicious. This is actually one of my favorite stops when I'm going up and down the island. You know, I like to stop in here for lunch. Beautiful views, so I'm excited to see some behind the scenes stuff.
That's so cool, right on.
Yeah.
We try to grow as much as we can for the cafe, like all of our lettuce and basil and things like that.
Yeah.
And let's pick some of this basil here.
Okay.
Put on a pizza in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm excited to try this pizza.
So we make all of our dough here with 100% organic flour.
Amazing.
And I like to let it sit for a few days before the weekend so it gets extra delicious.
Right, the more fermentation time, the better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a Sicilian style margarita.
Cheese first.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep the crust crusty.
Yeah, we're gonna go cheese first.
Okay. This is the opposite of how I do it, but I love it. You were saying that you make your own pickles, your own hot sauce from stuff on the farm as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just started making our own hot sauces that we're bottling and selling here now as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what is this?
So this is stinging nettle pesto.
Okay.
So it's got a lot of stinging nettle in it, and basil, and kind of your regular pesto ingredients as well, garlic.
Okay.
So I like to put that on top here like this.
Oh, this is beautiful.
And then I like to put a little bit of oregano on top.
This is looking amazing.
All right.
Okay.
We'll fire it on in here. And this is the trickiest part.
Yeah, I can see that.
There
Oh,
it is.
that's so cool how you got it off the edge like that. That's awesome. So you have the pizza that you sell, and then burgers, salads, soups.
Yeah, we do soup and salad. We do our beef burgers and our veggie burgers. We started making our own bacon in-house last year, so now we have our own house-smoked bacon on our burgers. Yeah.
See, I love coming here. It's just like such a great farm-to-table experience in a beautiful setting.
Yeah, there's not a lot of places where you can kind of sit out and look over the whole farm.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
Look at that cheese bubbling. I'm very excited about this pizza.
Looks like this one's done here. We can take it out and cut it up and add that basil that we picked.
Okay, I'm excited. Look at how beautiful that is. It smells so good. Man, look at this beautiful pizza in this beautiful setting. It does not get any better than
Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
I can't wait to try this. Can I give it a try? Do you want to
Yeah,
try it?
for sure.
Okay, I'm gonna do it in taco formation. Oh yeah, that's incredible. Oh, I love the dough. Man, this is so good. Thank you so much. You guys gotta come here and try this delicious wood-fired pizza at Alderlea Farms. Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming out.
Welcome back to my pizza restaurant, I mean home kitchen. So our dough is nice and puffy, ready to go on our tray. So we're gonna add a whole bunch of olive oil to this tray so that it doesn't stick. You want 2 to 3 tablespoons, be generous. And then I always like to get my hands a little bit oily so that it doesn't stick to the pizza dough when I'm trying to pull it out of the dish. We're gonna pull that out on just like in a shaggy ball. I know it looks crazy, but this actually works really well. And then I grab my scraper. Okay, we're gonna scrape the rest of this dough out. Just try to get every last bit out. I'll dump this in the sink. And now my hands are still a little bit greasy, and so we're gonna try and stretch this dough out. Now, don't be discouraged if at first it doesn't wanna go to the edges. That's totally to be expected, especially when you keep it in the fridge. It's a little bit easier when you do it at room temperature because the dough's kind of warmer and softer. So what I usually do is I stretch it out till it's about halfway and then let it rest for about 20 minutes, and then I can pull it to the edges. Okay, I'm just gonna wash my hands. Okay, so I, of course, have dough that's all ready to go. I have 2 of them because I want to make a vegetarian and a meat pizza. So you can see how it's spread to the edges. Once I had it spread to the edges, you let it rise for about 2 to 3 hours. So you can speed that up. If you have a proofing function in your oven, then it might only take an hour, but you want it to be really puffy, almost to the top of the tray like this, before you start loading it. So we are gonna get going right now. So there's always a debate about cheese first, sauce first. You can do what you want, but I'm a sauce first girl. But the secret is don't put too much sauce on here. Just enough to gently coat the pizza. If you put too much sauce on, it's just gonna be like soggy and it'll sink down and it just, in my opinion, won't be good. We're not making tomato soup, you know, we're making pizza. Then just use the back of a spoon to very gently spread that out. You don't wanna crush this beautiful dough structure. Now again, it's up to you whether you wanna spread the sauce right to the edges or leave a little crust edge. The traditional deep dish pizza, it goes right to the edge. So then you get kind of like a charred tomato cheese layer on the edge. I'm not the biggest fan of that, so I don't always go right to the edge. It kind of depends. I can, you know, like when I'm at this stage of making the pizza, I can almost taste it because I know how light and puffy and delicious it's gonna be. So for our pepperoni pizza, I'm a cheese before pepperoni person. And that is because pepperoni is kind of moist and greasy, so you want it to get a chance to be exposed to the hot air of the oven so that some of that grease can come out and can get a little bit crispy. If you put it under the cheese, it's kind of soggy. And the amount of cheese you put on is totally up to you. Okay, pepperoni all over that. And then the other pizza we're gonna make is a vegetarian pizza, but let me just finish evenly distributing this pepperoni all over. This is kind of like my very own arts and crafts project. Half the time when chefs get into cooking, it's because they like making food look pretty. I mean, I guess pepperoni pizza isn't pretty, but you know, it's delicious looking. All right, pepperoni. Now for the veggie pizza, we're gonna do a mixture of some roasted peppers and some steamed spinach and some mushrooms. So the peppers and spinach, you don't want them to be on top of the cheese because they'll like burn and it just won't be that good, especially the spinach. You don't want sort of dry, leathery spinach. So you just want to make sure. Another thing people do often is actually they really like overload the pizza, so you don't want to do that. Now we're gonna scatter some spinach. And again, do whatever toppings you like, obviously. If you want Hawaiian, do Hawaiian. Now for Hawaiian, I always put the pineapple and ham under the cheese because they can both get really dry and leathery. We're also gonna be putting some mushrooms on this pizza, but I'm gonna put the mushrooms on top of the cheese. Similarly to the pepperoni, mushrooms have a lot of moisture in them, so you want them to kind of dry out and get a bit crispy in the oven. And I know people who you know, do everything in reverse, like they put the sauce on top of the cheese. The argument for that is that the sauce will make the crust kind of soggy, so the cheese will kind of protect the crust, but I don't know. I still like the sauce. I like that layer where it's a tiny bit gooey between the sauce and the crust, just a tiny bit, as long as you don't put too much sauce on there. All right, so we're almost finished with our cheese layer, and now we're gonna do our mushrooms. So same thing, we're gonna lay them on so they look beautiful. These are sliced brown mushrooms, but you can use white mushrooms, you know, any type of mushroom that you like. If you like olives, you can put those on this pizza. Now, if you have people in your family who like multiple different pizza toppings, you can maybe each give everybody like half a pizza each. All right, let's get these in the oven. Now we're gonna bake these at 500 degrees on close to the bottom rack for 20 minutes. Ooh. Okay, those look so good. They need to bake for 20 minutes, and now we're at the hardest part, waiting for them to finish cooking. Okay, those pizzas have got to be ready. Ooh, look at that. Woo-hoo. Deep dish and delish. See how the veggie one is? Oh yeah, that looks great. Yummy. Okay, so we want to try and get them off the pan as quick as we can so they don't get soggy. So you're going to take a spatula and just run it around the edge. So you just want to make sure, this is one of the reasons too where I don't like putting the cheese right to the very edge, is that it sometimes burns. So it should come off pretty easily because of the amount of oil we've put on it, okay? So let's do that. So this is one of the things I love about pepperoni on top. It cups like a little cup and holds all the pepperoni grease. It's pretty good. All right. Oh yeah, oh, don't lose it. Don't lose our pizza. There we go. All right, pizza number one. Let's see if the veggie one comes off. Yes, it does. So this one sunk a tiny bit because I made it so far in advance. I think the dough was just slightly overproofed, but it's still gonna be delicious. So that's one thing I love about this pizza, is that the timing is really flexible. It's flexible like with the making of the dough, how long you wanna let it rise. And also with the cooking of it, if it gets really high and puffy, it's great. If it's a little bit less high and puffy, it's still delicious. Right, I put these in the sink. Okay, let's cut into these pizzas. So normally I let them cool for about 5 minutes on the rack before I cut them. So it's really handy to have a big cutting board and, if possible, a big pizza knife. Let's cut this up. Look at that super light and fluffy crust, all those holes and bubbles. It's gonna be like chewing into the lightest, chewiest, focaccia style, deep dish, delicious pizza. I'm gonna cut all this up and then I'm gonna put them back on the cooling rack. Just because this pizza's still so hot, if you leave it on the cutting board, it's gonna make the bottoms soggy. There we go. We're gonna put all this over here. And then we'll cut our veggie one, and then we're gonna plate it up. So you can just obviously eat it like this, but one of the things I like to have with pizza is a salad. So I have whipped up just a small veggie salad. You could do like a Caesar, whatever you wanna do. Somehow, I've lost the Tetris battle here. It did fit on here, didn't it? All right, let's take this one. Here we go. Veggie pizza, I'm just gonna cut a couple pieces out of this one. We'll see, oh yeah. Even though this one's sunk a little bit, it still has those beautiful airy holes that you can see. So the thing is about this pizza is even though it's deep dish compared to say like a New York style pizza, it's still not massive. Like it's not an unbelievably thick crust. Okay, we're gonna get our plates out. I like a square plate with a square pizza. Put those over here. All right, I think everybody wants a piece of each is my guess. A pepperoni pizza and a piece of vegetarian pizza. And then we're gonna make our salad. I've already mixed the salad, so this is just a straight up, just like a mixed veggie garden salad. Like I said, you could do a Caesar or just veggie sticks or just pizza. You don't need to have a salad in order to enjoy your delicious pizza. I just like the color. It makes me feel a little more virtuous. All right, there we go. Deep dish and delish.
Pairings are brought to you by Liquor Plus. Discover the plus.
Well, I've heard of pizza and beer, but I'd really love to know more about pizza and wine. And our favorite Liquor Plus rep, Shannon, is here to tell us more. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. You've never had wine with pizza?
I actually have not had wine with pizza.
Oh my gosh, you're in for a treat.
I am excited.
So I have the Avenue brand of wines today. These are a French wine from the Rhone Valley.
Okay.
You know, I thought tomato sauce would be good with a red.
Yeah.
These wines are just really tasty. Don't have to think too much about it. They're fresh, they're fruity, just gonna be really tasty.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm in Italy already. You know, it's like a really good table red.
So it can be a little bit hard to navigate your way around the French wine section in liquor stores and bottle shops. So in Rhone, you're gonna get Syrah, Grenache dominant wines, and that's what this is here. And what I like about this brand is they've actually labeled that.
Oh, okay. It tells you what grape varieties.
It says it on the front of the label, which is great.
Okay, so now we got to decide whether we're gonna have it with the pepperoni or the vegetarian.
Pepperoni.
Pepperoni. Okay, you go pepperoni, I go vegetarian, then we can compare notes. So
I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, you're right.
Really
I've been
fruity,
missing
good
out.
tomato.
Why have I not been having wine with my pizza? Thank you for opening my eyes.
You're welcome. The pizza's great.
Thank you. Have some more.
I will.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. That was another excellent pairing.
Thanks for having me. That was fun.
Show us your take on this deep dish pizza. Tag me on social media. I'm Chef Heidi Fink. The more you learn, the better it tastes. Do you like the deep dish or you're a fan of the New York style?
I thought that I maybe wasn't a fan of deep dish, but this kind of changed my mind.
Oh, yeah?
It's really crispy. It's good. It's not really doughy.
No,
you know?
it's kind of like light and airy. That's
Light
what
and
I like
airy,
about
yeah, I
Very
like it.
chewy.
Yeah,
I'm
cool.
a fan. It's my favorite pizza.
Nice work.
Thank you.